Introduced in the early 2370s as a successor to the Saladin class and its derivatives, the Akula-class destroyer was a mainstay of Starfleet for the last quarter of the 23rd century, representing a major increase in capability over its predecessors in the destroyer category, while also being the final numerically significant destroyer class produced by Starfleet, as developments and changes in doctrine made before and during her service life would render her niche of service largely redundant moving forward. The class measured in at 229 meters long, was 195 meters wide, and 37 meters tall. The ship possessed an armament consisting of 4 twin and 1 single phaser bank, and 4 torpedo tubes located in a dedicated structure on the lower nacelle pylon, which included magazine capacity for 30 photon torpedoes. The class had a crew of 140 as standard, and could move at speeds as high as warp factor 8.3 for brief periods, with a cruising speed of warp factor 6.5. Work would begin on what would become the Akula class shortly after the entry into service of the Gazelle class of destroyers in the mid-2260s. The Gazelle was a refined variation of the earlier Saladin class, which solved a host of issues experienced with its parent design, both minor and major. The resultant ship was quite capable for the time, and a major upgrade over the Saladin. Despite this, though, the Gazelle did retain arguably the biggest weakness inherent to the Saladin's design, this being that ship's reliance on a single nacelle for traveling at warp speeds. This severely limited the ship's ability to sustain high speeds while at warp, hampered her efficiency while at warp, and caused her engineering department to suffer from ulcers as a result of the stress of maintaining the stability of the ship's warp field while traveling. Even as the Gazelle class entered service, Starfleet would begin development on the next class of destroyers to replace them in service. And early on in this ship's development, it was decided that the additional flexibility and range a second nacelle added would more than justify the cost of the added expense and complexity to the design, especially as reports piled up about the burnout experienced by the engineering staffs of the ships of the Saladin, Gazelle, and Hermes classes. The designs for the new ship would be largely nailed down by the middle of the 2260s, though no prototypes were ordered until 2273, after the decision had been made to delay the Excelsior project the first time, leading to a string of alterations to the base design using components developed for the Miranda class to modernize the base ship as much as possible. Dubbed Akula, and named for marine creatures native to Federation member worlds where the ships were constructed, the nameship of the class, USS Akula, would enter service in 2374 and would soon be joined by many sister ships as the hot peace with the Klingon Empire increased steadily in tensions, requiring the further expansion of Starfleet to counter the threat posed by the Empire. In total, 81 ships would be produced in 2 main subclasses: the original Akula and the improved Dogole, which accounted for the final 24 members of the class's production run. Differences between the two variants were minor and mostly internal, with the main external means of differentiating the two subclasses apart being the location of the ship's dorsal phaser banks and location of her airlocks on the torpedo pod. Akula-class ships would serve for many years, seeing through the final tumultuous years of conflict with the Klingon Empire, the start of the Khitomer Peace, the Tomid incident with the Romulan Empire and subsequent Treaty of Algeron, and that was just in the final quarter of the 23rd century. Though the excitement the ships had after the dawn of the 24th was generally less exciting, the class still did important work, patrolling the borders, seeking out pirates and escorting important convoys, conducting survey work, the like. On the whole, the last 50 years of Akula's service record was a slow and quiet retirement, with the ships being gradually withdrawn from service during the 2350s as a new generation of ships began to slowly enter service to replace them. Many of the ships would be placed into deep reserve upon their withdrawal from active service. The ships having generally well used but low usage on their warp cores given the typically slow speeds they traveled at for most of their admittedly long lives. This meant that they were attractive to Starfleet as something that could be placed into reserve but quickly brought back into service and still be relied upon to give good service should the situation arise. This meant that as tensions rapidly built up with the Dominion in the 2270s, a century after the ships entered service, many of the class were able to be recalled and brought back into service to provide coverage as convoy escorts and many interior roles, freeing up more modern vessels for work on the front lines. In this work, the Akula class was able to go out with a bang, losing 15 of its remaining members by the end of the war to Dominion raiding ships. After the end of the war, the survivors would be finally withdrawn from service and scrapped. Representing the culmination of destroyer development in the 23rd century Starfleet, and the last class of destroyer to see significant production numbers for almost a century, the Akula class was a sturdy, capable, and reliable design which gave good service over a prolonged period, doing her designers proud, no doubt, and earning the love of her engineering departments, especially early on, as they appreciated her rugged and reliable design, which was a breath of fresh air over prior ships in her classification. Thank you for watching this video. This video was voted on by the channel's Patreon members. It was actually for the month of March. It was supposed to come out significantly earlier, however, stuff happened. So this is actually coming out the first day of April, but it's March's Patreon video. Patreon will get another vote. They get to vote on one video topic every month. You can follow the link down below. If you want to join the channel's Patreon, it's a couple of bucks a month. I mean, $1 a month gets you most of the perks. Also, you can follow the link to the channel's Patreon if you're at all interested in the artwork that goes along with the channel. I do original artwork for most every video on the channel. So if that interests you, you can get it on the Patreon. The Patreon, the artwork is actually free. You don't have to pay anything. You just go there and it's there and available. It should be. If it's not, let me know. Yeah, so you can do that. Yeah, what else? Next video should be on another video in the Galaxy class series. So I'll start working on that. So that should be... I'm not quite sure where it falls in the timeline. Personally, I think Galaxy is going to begin development next at Utopia Planitia, so you're going to see all of that, like Dr. Brahms, and all of that taking place. So that should be up shortly, in about a week, I hope. But yeah, aside from that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do normal YouTube professional stuff like comment, subscribe, yada yada. If you didn't, I mean, just why are you still listening? I mean, why are you still watching? Why? I don't get that. But you do you, I guess.